Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this morning we were reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, entitled The Creative Impetus, Chapter 4, The Characteristics of Rishabhadev, and we're on text 4.
Ready?
Yes.
Nabistu yata bilasitam supajastvam avadudhyati pramoda badavigvalo Gaddadakshadaya Gidasvairam Gihita Nadalokas Sadharmam Bhagavantam Purana Purusham Maya Vilasatamatir Vatsatati Tisanuragam Upalalayan Param Nivritam Upagata.
Alright. Nabihi.
Nabihi.
King Nabi.
King Nabi.
2, certainly. Gita Abhilashitam, according to his desire. Suprajastvam, the most beautiful son. Avarudya, getting. Ati pramoda, of great jubilation. Bara, by an excess. Vivalaha, being overwhelmed. Gadgada aksharaya, faltering in ecstasy. Kira, with a voice. Swairam, by his independent will. Vihita, accepted. Narlokasadharmam, acting as if a human being. Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purana Purusham, the oldest among living beings. Maya, by Yoga Maya. Vilasita, bewildered. Matihi, his mentality. Vatsa, my dear son. Tata, my darling. Iti, thus. Sa anuragam, with great affection. Palalayam, raising. Param, transcendental. Nivritim, bliss. Upagataha, achieved. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Due to getting a perfect son, according to his desire, King Nabi was always overwhelmed with transcendental bliss and was very affectionate to his son. It was with ecstasy and a faltering voice that he addressed him, "My dear son, my darling." This mentality was brought about by Yoga Maya, whereby he accepted the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Father, as his own son. Out of his supreme goodwill, the Lord became his son and dealt with everyone as if he were an ordinary human being. Thus King Nabi began to raise his transcendental son with great affection, and he was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss, joy, and devotion. Purport. The word Maya is used in the sense of illusion, considering the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be his own... The word Maya is used in the sense of illusion. Considering the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be his own son, Maharaj Nabi was certainly an illusion, but this was transcendental illusion. This illusion is required. Otherwise, how can one accept the Supreme Father as his own son? The Supreme Lord appears as the son of one of his devotees, just as Lord Krishna appeared as the son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. These devotees could never think of their son as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for such appreciation would hamper their relationship of paternal love. What is it? Okay. Parental? Well, here it says paternal. Okay. So it's parental, not paternal. Okay. This was printed in 2013. 5,000 copies, so that's why we're waiting for our American print, right? Book that's supposed to be coming out. It's from, I think it's from, is it being printed in Germany or something? Anyways, when I was in LA, I saw Savas Prabhu. He had the version that's going to come out and being distributed in America. I saw it. He got a copy. It looks quite nice. But I guess we're waiting. You know, it's taking a while to get over here. All right, I'll read one more. Text 5. King Nabi understood that his son, Rishabhadev, was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of the Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmins who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife, Meru-Devi, went to Badrika Ashram in the Himalayan mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Purport. When Maharaj Nabi saw that his son, Rishabhadev, was popular with the general populace and the governmental servants, he chose to install him on the imperial throne. In addition, he wanted to entrust his son into the hands of the learned Brahmins. This means that a monarch was supposed to govern strictly according to Vedic principles under the guidance of learned Brahmins, who could advise him according to the standard Vedic scriptures like Manusmriti and similar shastras. It is the duty of the king to rule the citizens according to Vedic principles. According to Vedic principles, society is divided into 4 categories: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Chatur Varna Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. After dividing society in this way, it is the king's duty to see that everyone executes Vedic principles according to his caste. A Brahmin must perform the duty of a Brahmin without cheating the public. It is not that one attains the name of a Brahmin without the qualifications. It is the king's duty to see that everyone engages in his occupational duty according to Vedic principles. In addition, retirement at the end of life is compulsory. Maharaj Nabi, although still a king, retired from family life and went with his wife to a place called Badrik Ashram in the Himalayas, where the deity Narayan is worshipped. The words prasanna nipunena tapasa indicate that the king accepted all kinds of austerity very expertly and jubilantly. He did not at all mind leaving his comfortable life at home, although he was the emperor. Despite undergoing severe austerities and penances, he felt very pleased at Badrik Ashram, and he did everything there expertly. In this way, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, Samadhi Yoga, always thinking of Krishna, Vasudeva, Maharaj Nabi attained success at the end of his life and was promoted to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka. This is the way of Vedic life. One must stop the process of repeated birth and death and return home, back to Godhead. The words Tan Mahimanam Vapa are significant in this regard. This is very amusing part of the purport here. Try to listen. Srila Sridhar Swami says that Mahima means liberation in this life. We should act in such a way in this life that after giving up this body, we will become liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This is called Jivan Mukta. Srila Vira Raghava Acharya states that in the Chandogya Upanishad there are 8 symptoms of a Jivan Mukta, a person who is already liberated, even when living in this body. The first symptom of one so liberated is that he is freed from all sinful activity, apahata papa. As long as one is under the clutches of Maya and the material energy, one has to engage in sinful activity. Bhagavad Gita describes such people as duskritina, which indicates that they are always engaged in sinful activity. One who is liberated in this life does not commit any sinful activities. Sinful activity involves illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Another symptom of a liberated person is vijara, which indicates that he is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Another symptom is vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take on any more material bodies, which are destined to die. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeat birth and death. Another symptom is vishoka, which indicates that he is callous to material distress and happiness. Another is vijighatsa, which indicates that he no longer desires material enjoyment. Another symptom is apipata, which means that he has no desire other than to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, his dear most pursuable Lord. A further symptom is satyakama, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the supreme truth, Krishna. He does not want anything else. He is satya sankalpa. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna. First of all, he does not desire anything for his material benefit, and secondly, if he desires anything at all, he simply desires to serve the Supreme Lord. That desire is fulfilled by the Lord's grace. That is called Satya Sankalpa. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word Mahima means returning to the spiritual world, back home, back to Vaikuntha. Sri Shukadev says that the word Mahima means that the devotee attains the qualifications of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Sadharma, or the same quality. Just as Krishna is never born and never dies, his devotees who return to Godhead never die and never take birth within the material world. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Meditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundinitadanam Vansha Kalpadubhishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is unique to the religious world. Means like within this world, the religious world, religious circles, that God can forget his godhood and enjoy intimate relationships. That's practically not found within any other religious tradition. I mean, there's some ideas heading in that direction, but not by any means getting close to the ideas propounded in the Srimad, or spoken about in the Srimad Bhagavatam, such as in the purport, or in this first verse in purport we read about how a devotee, like specifically it says Yashoda Nanda Maharaj, and other devotees, they could be in this parental rasa with Krishna, this relationship where the devotee forgets Krishna's godhood, they're not aware of it, and also Krishna he forgets. So they could both engage in this loving relationship. So it's absolutely amazing. And therefore Srila Prabhupada, he took the trouble to to come to America. They have a saying, right? No risk, no gain. Or is it no? Or is it no? Is it no? Huh? But one is no risk, no gain, right? But I think it's. I understand that. I heard you say that. No pain, no gain. I understand. I know that saying, but the saying I heard recently is no risk, no gain. Because no pain, no gain. That's there. That's true. You have to undergo austerity, undergo pain in order to gain something. But when we bring in the factor of risk, it's a little, it could be seen a little differently, because one is pain and one is risk, different definitions. And like Srila Prabhupada, not only was he willing to undergo pain or austerity for the preaching of Krishna consciousness, but a lot of risk. Like hopping on, like going on that boat. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, they put out Srila Prabhupada's diary, this Jaladuta diary. It's very beautiful, actually, Srila Prabhupada's writing, what he's experiencing, on the boat. So I'm reading that right now. You could read it. It's very inspiring. Yes.
There's no pain, no gain.
Yes.
And there's no risk, no reward.
No risk, no reward. Okay. So, no risk, no reward. So we we have to take risk, and if we don't take risks, we're living very shallow. You could say maybe meaningless. That we wonder sometimes why people give up the process of Krishna consciousness. Why do devotees join the Hare Krishna movement? Why do they leave? Well, because they're not taking risk, and then they think, oh, what's the point of my life? This life is meaningless. I need some more action, right? I need some more passion in my life. Let me go to Garnet Avenue and experience the real, passion of life. Garnet Avenue is full of bars and alcohol and other things. Tattoo parlors, yeah. So we have to take risks, and Srila Prabhupada, he wanted devotees to take risks, and just part of the Vedic system is to accept austerity or to accept challenges or to put oneself into difficult situations, which will help one become more dependent on Krishna. Like, for example, here it says that Rishabhadev, he became very popular, right? Which is an important point, because it's not that one just becomes a leader because they have a brain or they have some intelligence and they know how to manage some things, but one becomes a leader. In other words, people should like the leader or people should like leaders. That means that leaders should be likable. Like Srila Prabhupada, why was he able to get so much done? Because people liked him. His disciples liked him. His disciples loved him, and therefore they were willing to, do so many things for him. If they didn't like him, how far would the Krishna conscious movement advance? Not very far. So they like him. So similarly with the Rishabhadev, they liked him. He was popular. So those of us, or those of you who want to act in leadership roles, or those of you who will act in leadership roles in the future, have to be likable. It's helpful. Of course, sometimes people just may do stuff because, we ask them to do it because we're the leader, something like that. But if we could inspire them based on them just being inspired by us, them liking us due to our Krishna consciousness, then that goes a lot farther. But it wasn't that he just became likable, and then therefore he just took over, and then he was the only one in charge, even though he was what do you say, planetary incarnation, is it? Yeah. Even though it's a planetary incarnation, it's not that he just took over and okay, that's it. But it says here he worked in conjunction with the learned Brahmins, those who are the priests, the detached, learned devotees in society. They knew scripture, and he worked with them. So when one enters into leadership roles, positions, then one has to take guidance, instructions from devotees. And in this way, we do not run into the problem of just doing something or moving in a particular direction based on our own attachments or our own desires or our own passion. I think this is a great idea. Well, maybe it's not a great idea. Like, speaking about myself, I may have a great idea, but then speaking with learned Brahmins, learning devotees, they say, oh, well, what about this? What about this? No, not a good idea. And if I have some honesty left to me, then I'll just say, okay, I'll give that up and I'll go in this direction. So this is the system. It's not no one should be a, soul solo. Right? No one should try to fly solo. So no one should try to lead in solo by oneself. They should take instructions from the Brahmins. And it's the duty of it's the duty of the leader. Specifically, it's referring to king here. Now we don't have we don't have a king, but it's a duty of a leader to make sure. Speaking about, you could say on a lower, or not a lower, but on a more small scale, because ISKCON, we haven't taken over the world yet. Last time I checked. On a smaller scale, ISKCON scale, the leaders should make sure that the devotees are following. In other words, if they're not following, okay, hey, why aren't you following? You should be doing this, you should be doing that. Just like a father or a mother, they don't let their children just, go play on the freeway, right? In other words, or go play out in the street, the busy street. This is practically like a freeway. People go faster sometimes, 50 miles, 60 miles an hour. Motorcycles, right? So it's not that the children or the parents just say, oh yeah, go play on Grand Avenue, right? And then the kid goes out and oh, there's a death. The drunk guy. Oh, lady. Yeah. So in other words, if somebody's going off into danger, into a dangerous situation in which their spiritual life will be compromised or completely, destroyed, then it's the duty of the leader to stop them. And that's what the king's duty is in previous time, Vedic times, that the king would make sure everybody's doing things they're supposed to do and not doing things, and making sure they're not doing the things they're not supposed to do. So that has to happen within ISKCON as well, that leaders have to make sure that the devotees are, in essence, properly engaged, because within the human, right, within the living being, there is a lot of energy, actually. A lot of physical energy, a lot of mental energy, and if one is not engaged positively, then they're going to be engaged negatively, right? Means in Maya. So we have to make sure that we're engaged and that others are engaged. So he left Rishabhadev in charge with the help of the Brahmins, and he left home. He went to the Himalayas with his wife and practiced severe austerities, penances, jubilantly in Badrika ashram, and became absorbed in samadhi yoga, full Krishna consciousness, and attained success, went back to Godhead. So Prabhupada says here, in addition, retirement at the end of life is compulsory. So those who have entered the grihastha ashram and who have had children and who have worked for many years and whose children are grown up and married and so on, and who can retire, should retire. They should stop working. I mean, sometimes I brought this up, a number of times, but sometimes people, they retire and they don't know what to do with themselves, and they go back to work. But actually, and of course I understand the whole society's messed up, and in many ways we're not trained, but Srila Prabhupada's trying to stress in his purports over and over and over again that there's a lot to do in Krishna consciousness. There's a lot, the whole world's going to hell, actually. The whole world's going to hell means everybody's, going fast off a cliff. Practically, you could say they're halfway there, if not more. So in other words, we should try to help them. There's book distribution, there's Harinam, there's coming and worshiping worshipping the deities who are inspirational for the visitors and preachers and so on. And also many hands make light work, so many devotees doing a little deity worship means more preaching could go on, rather than a few people doing everything. So in other words, there's a lot to do, and then to waste one time continuing to make money, it's actually unfortunate. So therefore, Prabhupada says compulsory. It has to be done. It has to be done. It has to be given up. And all of these great kings, Nabi and Maharaj Parikshit and Yudhishthir and all of them, they all followed that principle. Okay, I've done my duty, now I'm giving it up. Srila Prabhupada, Rishabhadev, everybody, they're all doing it. So now, of course, this may not be super relevant for anybody in this room, but time does pass. We're not all going to stay at this stage of life, means at the particular, time's ticking, the body's aging. So eventually this will become relevant. Or it may be relevant for somebody who's listening online, or it may be relevant for somebody who listens in the future. But specifically right now relevant. But you could say that also, maybe the relevance of it for those in this room is that, more so in this room, is that we have to take brahmachari training very seriously. Because brahmachari training means ashram training. It's meant to train us for the future. Good brahmacharis make good householders. Good brahmacharis make good vanaprasthas. Good brahmacharis make good sannyasis. It's resting on the early training. So to not take the brahmachari training seriously and think that you're going to be a good grihastha, think that you're going to be a good vanaprastha, think that you're going to be a good sannyasi is just a joke. Now maybe by some good luck, by some good fortune, by some good association, without brahmachari training you may do that, or if you didn't take it seriously you may do that, but the chances aren't very high. Of course anything's possible by the mercy of Krishna and our sincerity, but those of us who do have the opportunity of taking the brahmachari training should take it very seriously. Not as, in a non-serious way. All right, and the last part of the purport is this very beautiful description of a liberated person. So means a person, specifically Viraraghava Acharya says, what are the symptoms of a liberated person in this life? Means they're liberated in this, although within this body. There's many descriptions here, and I just looked at the time. So, actually, it says 12:32, but so this. I thought that this is referring to. I thought it said 12:32, but it's actually 8:32, but it's 8:20. Okay, so it's a little better than I thought. But there's many amazing descriptions here, but one description stands out to me about a person who's Jivan Mukta. Of course, they don't commit sinful activities. They're not subjected to the miseries of old age. They live in such a way as they don't have to take another material body. They're callous to material distress and happiness. No longer desires material enjoyment. But another symptom is, they're engaged in Krishna service. But another symptom is quite amazing, actually. It says he is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna. So we have this prayer, right, to the Vaishnavancha, Kalpatarubhishcha, Kripasindubhya, Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha, that the devotees are like Kalpavriksha trees, they're wish-fulfilling desire trees, and they're Kripa Sindhu, oceans of mercy. And by all desires are fulfilled. It says, that prayer says, the Vaishnavas fulfill all desires. So we want to make advancement, we want to make progress in Krishna consciousness, and if we're able to serve, if we're able to associate, if we're able to please devotees, and specifically if we're able to please the spiritual master and advanced devotees, then this Satya Sankalpa principle will, you could say, activate. Means if a particular devotee has mercy on us, has kindness on us, is pleased with us, is wishing us well, right? They may be praying for us, like the principle sometimes people ask. Sometimes people ask the spiritual master or devotee, "Oh, can you pray for me?" Now sometimes it almost becomes just like a automatic, like it's like a gesture or a almost robotic. Yeah, almost. "Oh, can you pray for me?" It's just like you see a saintly person say, "Can you pray for me?" It's like, hopefully our rounds don't become like that too, right? We just kind of turn on the Hare Krishna button and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But it becomes almost robotic. But so therefore one should actually mean it. If you approach a saintly person, you should, like Rupa Goswami and the Goswamis, they come with the straw in their mouth. They're offering their Dandavats to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, asking for his mercy. So to ask, "Can you pray for me?" Now we could ask that, but we should ask it sincerely, seriously, very humbly, as much as we can muster right up. Sometimes I've seen people, they ask, am I live now?
No, it's just recording.
Oh, recording,
I
okay.
haven't done it live. I can't seem to get Facebook Live to work, but I would love to videotape it live.
Okay.
As soon as I get my Radoga.
All right. So, I've seen people, they approach my spiritual master, His Holiness Giraj Swami, and they say, "Can you pray for me?" Right? And then he asks them, "Well, what do you want?" Because if you just pray for someone and maybe they want something material, and sometimes they're a little taken aback by, "Oh, well, I've never had anybody ask me that." It seems, what do I want? So but the fact is, if we asked advanced devotees, "Please pray for me," if we ask the spiritual master, "Please pray for me," and we actually mean it, the spiritual master will. And because the spiritual master, advanced Vaishnavas, are so dear to Krishna, then the Satya Sankalpa principle activates, which means that because they're desiring it, Krishna will fulfill it. Which is a good thing to remember for us. There's a very beautiful quote from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which for some reason I'm having a hard time finding it, but I found it years ago, and I sent it to my spiritual master, and he really liked it. And then he really liked it, and he sent it out on his emailing group. And he said, "Oh, one of my disciples, they sent me this." And it's a beautiful quote where, in essence, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's saying that, describing his fallen condition. Of course, he's exalted, but out of humility. He's describing his fallen condition, his disqualifications. And then he's saying, "And therefore I will go to a Vaishnava with straw in my teeth, and I offer my prostrate obeisances, and I will beg that Vaishnava to please have mercy on me, and to please to pray for me, to pray to Krishna for me." And because that Vaishnava is so dear to Krishna, if and when he prays to Krishna, surely Krishna will listen. Surely Krishna will hear him and help me. Means be strong in Krishna consciousness, advance. And sometimes you hear people say this, "Oh, please pray for me." Like I had somebody Toto Gopinath, and they're in Utah. He sent me this USB drive with a bunch of old pictures from like 15 years ago of Harinam and book distribution. There's pictures of you there too, Vijay Prabhu and Dravida Prabhu and Madhu Mangal, and very nice old pictures. Everybody's looking a lot younger, and but no, you want to pray to me? No. Oh, do we borrow that? Yeah, you can. I could do that. So it's very beautiful pictures. But in the letter he sent to me, or email. In the email he sent to me, he said, "Oh, thank you very much, this and that, and I'm sending this to you." And he said something about his daughter, because he has a daughter, and he was worried about her going to public school, which I didn't exactly follow. If he thought it was like bad association or due to the situation, I'm not sure, but he was a little worried about his daughter. So, anyways, he was saying, please pray to Krishna for us and my family, this and that, and he said, I know Krishna will listen to you, because you're dear to him or whatever. Now, of course, he's saying that, and out of duty, I will pray, but my point bringing that up is that the principle's there. People, think like this, but it's actually a true principle that we should follow. Of course, we should find the right person, but it's not me, but find the right person, and then, it will help us actually. So anyways, that was one point about a liberated soul. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I saw Darius's hand.
I have two comments for you. Comments for you. The first comment, no risk, no gain. That sounds so materialistic. I feel that Prabhupada put all faith in Krishna. That's why he went on that mission. Yeah. So I think that instead of no risk, no gain, should be all faith in Krishna. Yeah. And
well, I mean, one thing about that is that you could see things in two ways. Like people think, oh, well, like Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada actually had the desire to make a lot of money. That was his desire when he was in India. Because astrologer told him that he would be one of the wealthiest men in India. And, based on astrology, sometimes we act certain ways. We try to, if it matches up, okay, let's maybe go in that direction. Like when people take sannyas, sometimes they read the charts. Is there, detachment in this person's chart? And if it shows there's not like an ounce of detachment, because there's a sampradaya who follows this for many, many years. They read the charts of young boys and actually start training them when they're really young to be sannyasis. So you could see things differently. Like people think, oh, Prabhupada, he wants to make a lot of money, but he wasn't just wanting to make a lot of money like, Mr. Gates or whatever, somebody like that, for mundane purposes, But he wanted to do it to spread Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of Krishna. So when we say, oh, no risk, no gain, or whatever the saying is, no risk, no reward. Now, you could see it in a material way, you could see it in a spiritual way. In a material way, you could see, a big businessman or someone say, oh, no risk, no gain. That means I got to put myself out there and I got to, do a lot of risk and invest in this stock, that stock, or else I'm not going to gain anything. It's true. If there's no risk, the guy's not going to gain anything. He's just sitting on the sofa and, thinking about how he wants to become rich. Good luck. Got a lot of energy, right? You got to put a risk out there. So you could think of it materially, but you could also think of it spiritually. You could think of it spiritually in the sense that no risk, no result, or no reward, which means that we have to try to push ourselves and take risks for Krishna's pleasure, and then there will be good results. By Krishna's mercy, there'll be good results, which means that we'll make spiritual progress, and people will be helped. Like for example, going on a book distribution. especially in the beginning, it's not it's not like a lot of devotees are spontaneously attracted. It's kind of difficult. You go out, you're sitting there, and a bunch of people are saying no, and you spend 5-6 hours out there, and you don't maybe not distribute as much as you'd like to, or as much as the other devotees, right? So putting out a lot of risk, taking the risk of going on a book distribution, some spiritual result. So, anyways, yes.
Thank you. I was going to also say, like, when people come up to you and say, pray for me.
Yes.
I feel that we should pray for everybody, all living entities at all times. So it's already done, So
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Okay, Vijay Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhupada used that. Nice class, thank you.
Thank you.
Prabhupada used this word risk. He said he chose the GBC men by whoever took the most risk.
Yeah.
To spread Krishna consciousness, because it's you're going out, you're preaching, it's risky. You're dealing with Maya. This is Maya's.
Yeah.
Abode. So it's risky.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you want to go on an adventure, or some people just think going to India is like it's a big big kind of adventure and risk, and some people don't want to do that. Just stay home or stay in the temple. So yeah, we have to be, what do you call, daring and active. I think I was talking to Radesha in Hawaii, and somehow or other this came up. He brought up this point that, he was talking about somebody and how the temple president wasn't so happy with them, this particular person, because the person wasn't very daring and active. And I said, oh, I like that, daring and active. I said, where did you get that? He said, I got that from my Guru Maharaj, Jayadvaita Swami. He says, yeah, the person's not very daring and active. Or he says, that person's very daring and active. So daring and active, it's like to go on a book distribution, it's a little daring, right? Active. You got to do something. I'm not sure what to do, but all right. Does anybody have any other? Yes, Daniel.
So we're talking about risks.
Yes.
Right. And I'm more like, when you take risks, is there such thing as like educated risk versus just regular risk? And is there, when taking a risk, should we consider the consequences, or should we consider the rewards?
Well, yeah, there's intelligent, we should always act intelligently, but just like we brought up about Rishabhadev, he wasn't acting independently. He was acting in accordance with the opinions of the Brahmins, So in other words, within our life, we should always be trying to make progress, trying to challenge ourselves, trying to make progress, and also our leaders should challenge us, right? Now you're the temple commander. It's a challenge. Of course, you can say, oh, it's a small challenge or something, but or now you're in charge of the kitchen, right? Someone may say, well, that's not too big of a challenge. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. Dealing with devotees and the kitchen, or now you're in charge of the college program. It's a challenge. Or now you're going to take sannyas, right? Now, of course, we have to accept all these things, But so it's not that we could not that we just sit around, and try to speculate and concoct all types of challenging situations we could put ourselves in Krishna consciousness, but we may have ideas, and we could present those to the leaders, to the Shiksha, Diksha gurus, to senior devotees, and say, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm thinking about challenging myself. Do you think this is a good idea? They say, yeah, it's a great idea. Go for it. And hopefully our leaders will also not just wait for us to bring stuff up to them, how we're going to challenge how we will challenge ourselves, or ideas to challenge ourselves, but hopefully the leaders will come to us and say, okay, Bhakta George, or okay, Krishna Das, now it's time, to do this or that. What do you think? Are you ready for it? And so hopefully that will happen too. But in terms of what you should consider, the consequences, the rewards, this and that, you should consider everything. You should thoroughly analyze everything intelligently that we do. Of course, not to the point of paralyzation where you just sit around analyzing everything all day long, but you should analyze it sufficiently enough in consultation with other devotees. Because just like Srila Prabhupada, there's one Sanskrit word, Srila Prabhupada translates it as not even a moment for self-reflection. So nowadays, the whole world practically, leaders, Prabhupada say demons, have organized things in such a way is that people, they don't have not even a moment for reflection. Why? Because they work them really hard, right? Work. They work them really hard for the bare necessities, a roof, some food, right? Have some clothes. It's like, what are people working for? A little vacation, 2 weeks out of the year. What are people working for? They're working for basic necessities. You could say opulences or artificial necessities. So working people really hard. And then when they're off of work, they have some time, but by that time they don't want to self-reflect. They just want to, right? Relief. They want some relief, some enjoyment. So devotees are meant to be self-reflective. Although we may be in this world and we may have to participate in such programs, maybe, but we have to try to be self-reflective. Means to analyze things, not that we're just whimsically doing things or unintelligently doing things. So, anyways. All right, Mr. Tyler.
Daniel asked a great question, and it provoked some thoughts, and you pretty much nailed all of them. The idea of a calculated risk.
Yes.
We want to make sure we're taking a risk that's been calculated.
Yes.
And that's the ratio of risk to reward. If it's too risky, it's not worth the reward. If it's the reward's too great, it's definitely worth the risk. And as far as investing goes, there's these two types of investments. One you nailed is the speculative investment, which we should be worried about because we're speculating whether or not it's going to pay off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we should be more veering towards the sure shot, which means if we do put our time and effort in, this reward, this investment will pay off in this regard.
Yeah.
And so Krishna consciousness is pretty good at doing that in telling us if you do X, Y, and Z, this is the result. It is a science.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that my dad used to always say is paralysis by analysis. And you talked about that too. If we overanalyze things too much, we'll never do anything.
I like that.
So after a while, it's a gut feeling. If you do enough risk, you start to feel it. Okay, I know if this is my chance, right? This is a good opportunity. I should go for it. And it's always nervous when you take a risk.
Yeah.
But after time and with experience and with instruction, you can be told, it's the risk is worth the reward. And all of us pretty much join the ashram, and that takes a bit of risk, at least from the outside world's calculation.
Yeah.
So that was a great risk versus reward ratio.
Yeah.
And so those were all just some very nice points, and Daniel hit
you.
it home with asking that question. So
Yeah,
thank
say
you.
like Prabhupada said, chasing rhinos, right? Which is a term that if you go hunting for a rhino, Prabhupada used this analogy. I didn't use it. I'm just repeating him. But Prabhupada said you go hunting for a rhinoceros. Apparently, it's very difficult to catch a rhinoceros. So if you go out there and you go hunting for a rhinoceros, and then if you don't bring one back, they're like, well, at least you tried. Pretty good attempt. Like, anyways, who would catch a rhinoceros, anyways, right? But if you go chasing a rhino, you go hunting for a rhinoceros, and you actually get one, people go, oh wow, that's amazing! I can't believe you did it. So either or, it's. So Prabhupada would say, chasing rhinos, we should try to do things that are in that field, So, and Prabhupada is all right. He was going to Africa, going here, going there, all these kind of Russia, right? Communist Russia. I mean, it's Prabhupada, right? And Dimitri. Okay, that's a whole pastime in that book, Shamasundar, Chasing Rhinos. Yeah, you should read that. Have you read that actually? Yeah, you should read that. Of Prabhupada going to Russia, Shamasundar writes about it. It's very nice. All right, Gantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, I know.